And we are live. No one.
Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
No rags, no different color flags. Yeah, welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
No guns, no knives, and the weapons pointed against me in the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
Are ever gonna prosper? I'ma serve the Father. Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the
Welcome to the war zone. We got Pastor Jamie over here. He's jamming 20 seconds behind. Okay, it stopped. But hey, guys, welcome to Tuesday night here in the war zone by Remnant Church. As you can see, we're absent one individual tonight, Mr. Clay Hoffman. I'm not going to put his business in the street, but just keep his family in prayer. So, Clay, we actually prayed for you today, and we'll continue to pray for you, buddy. We love you. But apparently tonight there's a pretty explosive topic. So if somebody could like screen record their phone or computer, as we might get kicked off. I don't know, but it's very, very possible. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and guys, let me. I don't know if Pastor Jamie talked about it Sunday because I was out of town. No, I wasn't in church. Hold on a second. Sorry, I can't hear you. I want to mute. Hold on. I was just kidding. But we have launched the new Remnant Church app and the new Remnant Church website. So it's the same two web addresses, speaklifelovewell.com as well as the remnantmovement.com. But if you need the link to download the Remnant Church app, please feel free to just put it down in the comments. I'm seeing Miss Vicky West here. Hey, Vicky. Also, Miss Tina Quinn. Hello. Denise Young. Guys, I know there's more people here. I see the room is growing, so please jump in the comments and say hey, and also let us know where you're from. And also, I think everyone can hear us. I just want to make sure the audio is okay. We are reading hot, so that is good. So I think Jamie's still sharing stuff out over here. Yep. But welcome to the War Zone. I think tonight we're going to talk about the global elites. So I'm not really exactly sure where I guess this is going tonight, but I know it's going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. So I'm excited about it. You need to get on Telegram or Rumble. So I've definitely got a Rumble account, but I think going live on Rumble right now is pretty difficult, right? I think so. Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Hey, Dylan, what's up, man? He's over there at the church. Carla. Hey there, Carla. Lisa Steedley. It says Ronnie and Lisa are watching. So that's pretty amazing. All right, Jamie, are you ready to jump into it?
Let me finish this one thing right here. Then I'll be just tagging some people. So let me get my ears in so I can actually hear.
Get your ears in.
What's going on?
Get your ears in. So, guys, again, we just launched the new Remnant Church app. So if y'all want the link to download that, because we're working on actually getting it in the Apple store and the Google store. So there is a link through a third-party company that I think you have to go through right now to obtain, the app. But we can get that shot right over to you. So, all right, Jamie, let's talk about the global elites. I'm going to actually turn it over to you, man.
Well, I'm still trying to get these ears in.
So I'm just going to tell on you real quick, okay?
That's fine.
So he was sitting here before, we got going. We're sitting backstage, if you will. And he's like, man, he's like, dude, I can't hear it. Test. And his earbuds were laying on the table. It was pretty funny. It was so serious. It was great. So
it's one of those moments, so I can hear crystal clear right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those little wooden objects in your ear.
So we're I think I mentioned this on Sunday at church about the God complex, and I was listening to a couple of weeks ago. I was listening. Trying to think of the lady's name. It's escaping me now. But she was talking about the global elite, and that's a word that and we're not talking about the societies. I mean, people, when you start talking about demonic structures and stuff, and they are real, like Freemasonry and the Knights of the
Templar,
yeah, and the list just goes on and on and on of these societies that people are working through,
and even the KKK.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the thing is those are so down the list of what's really going on, and so I spent most of today researching, and it's amazing what you can find if you look.
Yep.
If you know where to look.
That's the key.
Yeah, I mean, everything, I've been preaching also about misinformation, that if we don't have the right information, then we're just believing a lie, and that's just deception.
Mm-hmm.
So, with where the world is and where society is and where we have just come through a pandemic, but I don't think we've seen the end of the pandemic.
Right.
I think it was a way, and again, some people will disagree, and that's fine, but it's a way that those that are, I think, carrying that God complex are trying to manipulate and control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're seeing it with gas shortages, we're seeing it with food shortages, and the list just goes on.
Right.
because these will drive people into a place of submission, not to God, but to man.
Yeah.
And it's all, I think, the end time games of the enemy with that. So, this God complex, taking on the identity of God. And so I simply looked up, I think it was dictionary.com, what is God complex?
Mhm.
And this is what it said. It's an unshakable belief characterized by consistently inflated feelings of personal ability, privilege, and what's that word?
Where?
I'm missing that word. The inability to be wrong.
I think it's about the word "the." No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it is a personal feeling of ability, privilege, and the inability to be wrong.
God complex.
The God complex. So meaning you're always right. So and we hear this, this quite often, I think, as you're seeing in the news and around the world, and you're hearing the word global elite. And so what is global elite? And so I took, the tenure to look at that, and these are a small group of powerful people who hold a disproportionate amount of wealth, privilege, and political power. So it's people who have wealth, have privilege, and they're connected to political power. So, these things really exist.
Yeah.
And towards probably more towards the end of the time to now on this podcast, we're going to hear what the Bible has to say about it. But I pulled up this quote from President Woodrow Wilson, and he said it like this. He said, there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, yet so complex, so persuasive, that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. This came from one of our presidents. So he's telling the world there's a power on the earth that's organized, that is subtle, it's watchful, it's watching us, it's interlocked, it's connected, it's so complex, so persuasive, that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. And he's talking about a global elite.
Yeah, man. I'm very reluctant. I'm very reluctant to name some of them, but we could talk about the Illuminati, man. Them. But I believe and I know that the foundation of that was what? The Freemasonry. And because I think it was somebody I heard say one time, it actually might have been you, but it says any kind of secret society that is completely secret is also a cult. Yeah. So I don't know if that was you or not, but and what's sad, man, is without getting in too much of this, because this is not for tonight, or it might be, but I love this country and it's amazing and it's phenomenal, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I'm probably one of the most patriotic people that you'll ever meet. But I like to tell you this, some of the things and and some of the principles and some of the Freemasonry that it was built upon is really shaky ground. And because I actually come from a family that has a KKK background. And, I know here at the church, we do a bunch of transformation and stuff, and all of that stuff's got to be broke off too, man.
Right.
All of that's got to be. And, I actually believe it's years and years and years of walking in just complete ignorance and blindness that folks wear this stuff as a badge of honor.
Right.
And it's being worn so proudly, but all it's doing, man, is just deepening the roots from hundreds of hundreds of years back. And, and that's where like these little smaller groups and these other, what's the term that you used? Like, these, I guess elite groups.
Oh, the global elite.
Yeah. And so like they actually spin off
Yeah.
from the roots that were buried when this entire nation was first founded, man. I mean, like, these little small groups are being birthed from that. And that's where us as a church, man, we got, we have to rise up and meet this stuff.
See, while we're talking about, people were like, why are you talking about the global elite? It's because they have a God complex.
Yeah.
And that they
And Satan had a God complex too.
sure did.
Yeah.
And the thing is again, I'll go back to this lady. I'm probably going to think of her name by the end tonight when we get off. But she was doing she was a Jewish lady. I remember that. And she was talking about how she had kind of got on the inside of some of these global things.
Yeah.
And she said, she threw this is a couple months ago. And I even said it, I think from our pulpit at the church, that she said, and she just said it out loud, and I didn't have any proof by it. I'm not saying I have all the proof tonight, but she said roughly there's 3,000 people on the earth controlling 8 billion people.
Mm.
Roughly 3,000 people, again, a global elite that have a God complex that says they can maneuver anything in the world to shift things at any moment. And today I was thinking about, I looked at, this is what people don't fully understand. What would you say the two major soda companies are? The two big ones.
Coke and Pepsi.
Okay. So do you think Coke and Pepsi compete against each other? I mean, in the real world. Maybe.
Yes.
You would say Coke dominates.
Sure.
But you know something? They don't compete.
Right.
You know why? Because they're owned by somebody else.
Yeah.
The people who founded Coke doesn't own Coke. People who founded Pepsi Corporation, they're owned by what we call the global elite. And as I was researching today, I found out, and if you're out there and you want to, if you're a note taker, you might want to do your own research. But there's 4 groups of people that make up these elite. Here they are: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Berkshire Hathaway.
Berkshire.
Yeah. Sorry, Berkshire. And as I was looking at these 4 elite investment groups, so to speak, guess what? When you look at, they don't give you names. They don't give you names. You can't say, well, who makes up Vanguard? You're not going to find that.
Right.
But what you're going to find out,
it's top secret.
It really is. It's a secret.
Yeah.
So, and they go to great lengths to keep that secret. But there's 3,379 people amongst those 4 elites. And I go back about a month or two ago when this lady stands up and she says, there's roughly 3,000 people who control 8 billion people on the earth.
It's wild, ain't it?
And so as I'm going to go through this really quick, because I want to get down to some scriptures. But these out of these 4, they consist of investment companies, mutual funds, insurance companies, banks, and governments. So, and they control majority interest, in different things. So I kept digging today. So this is how it works. Think about this.
Okay.
So let's look at the food packing industry. Okay. So you got Kraft. These are like the roots, and then all of a sudden they branch off, and you got all these subgroups that make up the food that we eat. So here are the major ones: Kraft, Kellogg's, Nestle, PepsiCo, Mandela's, Mars, Coca-Cola, Unilever, Danone, and General Mills. Okay. All of those are the major food packing groups. And out of that, all the food cycles through them. Okay. Think of it like this. So out of those 8 or 10 I just named, all the packaged food that we eat filter through those companies around the world. Okay. Now here's one of the I guess one of the keys. Guess who owns all of those companies?
BlackRock.
BlackRock, Vanguard,
That's crazy.
State Street, and Berkshire. Okay, let's go a little farther. In the tech world, here I'm looking at my thing. Apple, Alphabet, which is really Google is not Google. Google is owned by Alphabet. Google is a what do you call it? A parent company.
Right.
So you got Google, YouTube, Gmail, and Android that's under this Alphabet, company. Microsoft, Facebook, who owns WhatsApp and Instagram. Okay, those are four. Those
Now
are
they
the
own you in the
four
metaverse.
major tech companies.
Yeah.
Guess who owns them?
BlackRock, Vanguard,
Vanguard, State Street,
and Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope y'all are listening to this.
Yeah.
I mean, so 3,379 people control 8 billion people.
Well, they control the ability to move things. So let's go back and think. If we're in a food shortage, and I just named off the 8 major companies that all the packaged food comes through, these 4 elite companies made up of 3,387 people can because they either own it or own the majority of the shares, controlling stock in the companies. They can at any moment decide what that looks like. In the tech world, like tonight we're on Facebook and we're on YouTube. At any moment, if they decide, they can shut it down, they can shift it, they can move it, because they either own the company or own the majority of the shares to do something within that company. And I'm just talking about those 2 things. So, and I kept looking. I kept, let's see. Where else would I go? Okay. I thought about this. Okay, we're coming through the summer months, and I said we go on vacation. So we pick somewhere. We go on Expedia, find a location, get our airline tickets, American Airlines, Delta, United Airlines, rent a hotel through Airbnb, whatever we do. Or we drive to it. Mobil, Exxon, Shell, Chevron, BP. Guess who owns all those?
Those 4 big companies.
Yeah. So the gas industry can be altered or moved or repositioned or price jacked, not because of Saudi Arabia, but because of those 4 elite companies. Because they either own the companies, or they own the controlling stock that says they can maneuver the company the way they want to. So I thought it was just interesting. And then I kept looking. I said, how about agriculture? Guess who the largest owner of agriculture is? Look at it right there. What's that say?
Bayer.
It's more than an aspirin. Bayer is the largest contributor and mover of agriculture.
Monsanto.
And Monsanto is responsible for 90% of the seed that is produced to put in the ground to grow crops. Guess who owns those 2 companies?
Those 4 big companies. So, I guess maybe like you could speak to this, since we're right here now. So, I guess all of you guys online, I guess you've seen that it was Ukraine and Russia came to a grain agreement. So hold on a second. They came to a grain agreement.
Yeah.
Like an agreement. I'm assuming, again, I didn't read a lot into it, so I'm hoping somebody can put something in put something in the comments, or if I'm sure you probably actually read something on it, but I just saw the headline yesterday that they came to an agreement on grain. So we know that Ukraine has a lot of the world's
fertilizer. No, that's Russia. Sorry.
Yeah,
but they have the grain and the wheat and stuff like
and
that.
A lot of natural resources.
Yeah, they do.
So
Natural gas, they got a lot.
And so I guarantee you, you can probably link these four guys back to Putin, Russia,
Yeah.
because who goes to war over grain?
Right.
And so it's just not about grain, but it's actually controlling the output and the outsource of what? Major natural resources.
Okay. So what did we just go through in starting in 2020?
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
A
Okay, let's look
pandemic.
at that pandemic. So all of a sudden we have a vaccine to the rescue. Okay. All right. And name off some of those companies. Johnson and Johnson,
Yes.
Pfizer,
Moderna.
Moderna. Okay, that was a three.
Right.
Would you have any idea who owns those?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say probably BlackRock, Vanguard, Berkshire Hathaway,
State Street.
and State Street,
Either own the companies or own controlling stock.
and a major affiliation to where they can control, like, you know, the output of the company.
So all of a sudden, a pandemic would boast their wealth.
Mm.
And it's funny because I was listening to Fauci,
Oh, Falsey.
and I heard him say, and this is for the pandemic. He says,
Right.
because they were asking about the flu. They're like, so what vaccine would you get if you had the flu? He goes, if you get the flu, you don't need a vaccine because you have the antibodies from the flu. That's your best protection against the flu. He says, so the best way to beat the flu is get the flu, not get a vaccine. That's what he said out of his mouth.
Yeah.
But now he's saying, because there's controlling interest of other people, that all of a sudden with COVID, your best line of defense is not COVID, it's vaccine. Completely contrary to science of what he's saying and the natural immunity of our bodies. But when you got global people involved and it's all about positioning and wealth, all of a sudden it makes sense to change the story, change the narrative, and all of a sudden everybody needs to get a vaccine. Not because it's the best thing for us,
Right.
but it's the thing that will increase the wealth of roughly 3,387 people that are called basically the global elite.
So I saw a pretty powerful meme, and it's been floating around for like a few years now, but it's literally, and I think it might even have had a couple names of, like, you know, these big guys on there, but it was a bunch of older men, and it was a table, and on, you know, this table was, like, you know, the globe, like, you know, the earth, and, like, you know, all these major cities, and, like, you had your planes and, like, your grains and all this other stuff, and, like, your gas, and it's like all these guys are sitting around, you know, and then it was all of these people on all fours, like all the way around the table, was literally the actual support system for this, for, like, you know, the top of the table. It was the base, right? And then in there it says, can you imagine if everybody stood up? Like, all right, so if, like, tons of people are on all fours and like, you put the top of a table on, you know, their backs, what's going to happen if all of those people stand up? It's going to flip over this massive table.
Right.
And so, as I guess you explain this, there's a lot of truth to what I mean. There's tons of truth in that meme, to the point of, if all of us as a people, 8 billion people, would stand up against these, you know, elites, these four big companies who control everything, just find some way to stand up, it would literally throw the pieces everywhere. And it would completely.
But see,
Yeah.
What people don't understand is this has been in motion for decades,
Yeah.
for hundreds of years. You know, I mean, this goes back to the Rockefellers. This goes back to the Morgans. This goes back to, I mean, those people who actually created the Federal Reserve right here in our county, Jekyll Island. The Federal Reserve. For people that don't know, the Federal Reserve is not owned by the United States. it is a company that is
BlackRock, Vanguard.
formed by people that loan money to America.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. So, and that was started by the elite. Okay.
Yep.
So I also read this today. This is a report from a very what do you call it? I'm trying to think of the word. A well-known publication that's is in high regards to, as far as investments and far as management of money and stuff like that. So, and it's called Bloomberg.
Bloomberg, yeah.
Yeah, people know about them.
Oh, yeah.
This is what Bloomberg said. Just reported this. That between these two companies, now the two really elite is BlackRock and Vanguard.
Right,
They're the big dogs. They're at the top of the food chain.
right.
Okay. That between those two, that by 2028, they will manage over 20 trillion in investments. And they went on to say this, and own almost everything on earth. Those two companies. This is Bloomberg. You can look it up. Bloomberg reported this, that between Vanguard and BlackRock, by 2028, we'll have $20 trillion of investments and almost own everything on the earth by 2028. That is 6 years from now.
That's scary.
And people say there's no global elite, there's no societies, there's no this. They're out there and they're working hard to control the earth.
All right. So, which actually brings me to a very good point here. It's the same people, guys. Just think about it. For years now, the actual agenda and the narrative is how does one control a very large group of people is they actually divide them against each other. And I bet you I really don't even know how to explain this, but I bet if you look back in all of the news and the racism and all of this stuff that has been online for pretty much, I would say that it started back in probably 2007 and 2008. The agenda really began to be pushed in the news outlets and all that stuff of white against black, white cops against black people, and all of this stuff. These major racial agendas, really began to be pushed because what they want, all of these massive elites push this agenda of what's the term? Systemic. And so if
systemic everything,
right. So systemic racism, systemic, absolutely everything. If they can keep this agenda pushed, then it's like, watch this hand while I do this over here. And so all of us, and it goes back to what, Joe's been doing on Wednesday nights. It actually keeps our offense on the forefront. And man, we're so on guard just to attack and, just, to lash out. And the last time this country was even remotely on the same page was right after, I think it was 9/11. All of these bumper stickers said what? United we stand. You couldn't find one in the store to buy.
Yeah.
And man, now it's all of this hate and this offense and all this crazy demonic activity. And they actually want to feed this agenda this is the major problem. But it's not. The major problem is the small group of people can feed us anything they want.
Yeah.
And we sit there and we bite on it and we cut each other's heads off.
Yeah.
Because we believe something that's not even true.
It's almost like if you want to bring the Bible back into it, it's what was happening during the day of Jesus. Who was controlling everything? Roman Empire.
Yeah.
They were the biggest empire on the earth.
Yeah.
Controlled everything.
Yeah.
They could just kill. Talking about abortion, let's go and just trying to get to Jesus, just kill all the male babies.
Yeah.
So you've always had this global elite mentality through scripture, through modern day today. and it's all this God complex. I'm God and you're not, and I'm going to control you, and I'm going to control you. Really, they're going to try to control us by what we fear that we won't have anymore. So we'll put gas out of your range. We'll starve you to death. I mean, I just read about a week or two ago that there was a law that was trying to be pushed down from Congress. And I forgot what state it was in. Maybe Indiana, maybe one of the states. But this is what they were saying. They were saying, if you don't buy into this bill, then we're going to take funding away. This is national news. We're going to take the funding away from your school systems to feed your people, to feed your children. We will stop funding for food that you feed your children while educating them if you don't accept our bill. I mean,
That's called communism, dude. That's exactly what it is.
and the thing is, Washington is just the puppet.
Yep.
I mean,
Because all the strings lead back to who?
Vanguard.
Vanguard, BlackRock,
BlackRock,
State Street,
State-
and Berkshire Hathaway.
Yep. They all lead back to them. And yet, even today, you have no idea who's sitting on the boards. I mean, these people. I mean, they take great pride in staying out of the news. No, I mean, again, Washington, those elites, they're answering to a higher power, and it's not God.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I meant all these secret societies. They're answering to a higher power.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, even somebody like Mr. Gates, he's not really an elite because his company's owned by.
I
Vanguard.
dude, I just talked to, I think it was Johnny about 6 months ago. I said, Bill Gates is a puppet.
Mhm.
He is a puppet.
It's a puppet.
And see, you know, I didn't know all this. I mean, I actually knew that, you know, there was this higher, you know, elite power, but I didn't know, you know, their names and all this stuff. So, but I said, man, I feel like Bill Gates is a puppet. Like he is literally like a mouthpiece for what's being pulled in, like, you know, the background. And Joe Biden is a puppet. All of Washington, like you just said,
It's a puppet.
are these masked puppets.
Yeah.
That has sold their soul.
Sold to the devil.
That's exactly what has happened. And like, you know, dude, just to stand on so many demonic untruths and to stand there and, man, dude, to sit there and call it good.
See,
Yeah.
let's look at this. BlackRock they've been nicknamed the fourth arm of the government.
Jeez, bro.
You know why? Because they control the flow of money. How they do it? To the Federal Reserve. Okay, I want you to think of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want you to think about this. If they control the money through the Federal Reserve, BlackRock, then guess who created the software that our banking systems use to control
Microsoft.
this money? No. Who created the platform? BlackRock.
Oh.
They created the platform that all of our banking systems use. They're considered the fourth arm of the government. We'll break some stuff out tonight. Fourth arm of the government. And guess what?
Can somebody send me a text so we get kicked off live, please?
Yeah, and guess what the name of the software is? Aladdin.
You can't make this up, bro.
Look it up. Look it up.
Aladdin.
So at any time,
I got to put the theme song on. Hold on.
at any time, they could crash our banking system. Any moment. Because they own the software. They're the second largest entity out there that has
Wow.
the heaviest investments in the complete in all the world.
Hmm.
You may go a little farther. You go a little farther. Okay, let's look at BlackRock. So BlackRock, I mean,
Oh, what's this?
these are known companies out there. Oh goodness.
It's the Aladdin theme song. All right, I'll quit. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry about
So
Sorry about that.
so all of a sudden, BlackRock takes senior advisors from their company and puts them in the White House. Guess when that began?
Hold on. 2008.
before that.
Okay, hold on. 2000
Under
Bush.
yes.
Yeah, I actually knew it was either 2000 or 2008.
So up under Bush, the fourth arm of the government, they call it BlackRock, put senior advisors in the White House, starting with Bush, continue with who next,
Obama.
and currently
Oh, sleepy.
Biden.
Yep.
So all three of those, you can go look it up. There are senior advisors from BlackRock in senior positions in the White House.
Mm.
And I told someone this today. I think I was telling Dylan, and this is something else that comes from Bloomberg. They said this: 1% of the world's population collectively owns more money than the other 99% of the world altogether.
All right, can you say that again?
1% of the world's collectively owns more money. So all the money that filters through our economies and stuff, all the profits and all the wealth from that, 1% owns more than the rest of us, the rest of the world, which is 99%.
All right, so let's stop right there. This is where the lines get blurred. This is where like it gets skewed, okay? Is the 1%ers. So if I hear what you're saying is like the 1%ers have more income, more
wealth transfer
than
than the rest of us, the rest of the world, 95% of the world altogether.
right. So here's the thing is there's nothing wrong. And see, this is why the left hits so hard on this about like all of the wealth, all of the wealthy sharing their wealth. So like, I actually work and so like, we all have all these like, successful like stories, in businesses and all this stuff. And they want the 1%ers, folks who make six figures a year, to share their wealth.
No, we're talking about
Right. But they actually want to like push that agenda to keep the eyes off of the actual 1%ers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The six figures ain't 1%.
Right. But see,
1% of the 3,387 that makes up those four investment groups.
But that's the actual smoke screen that they hound on and pound on and beat on because like they want everybody to be convinced that those are the 1%ers, the folks who make 100 to 2, that's not even a drop in the bucket. Those are not the actual 1%ers. It's the people that control the entire wealth of the world. And if they can push this, agenda against just, the little small people, then it like keeps the eyes off of what's really happening. Yeah. And yeah, so I just wish I could really explain that better, but
yeah. Well, the thing is that again, this is stuff I've just researched out.
And how long did it take you?
A whole day.
Yeah.
And the way you start thinking, how does this money get transferred? How does people with great wealth transfer their money or move their money? Through nonprofits.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing about a nonprofit. One, you don't have to disclose who's giving. You don't have to disclose how much is being given, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. So people like the Bill Gates Foundation, people like the Open Society Foundation, which is George Soros, and the Clinton Foundation, they don't. That's just the name of three. That's probably the top three on the planet.
Right.
They do not have to disclose who gives to them, what they do with it, or have to pay taxes on it, as long as they reinvest it into something else associated with their foundation. I found this out today. Guess who the largest founder of the WHO is?
Who?
You know what WHO is?
World Health Organization. Yep.
Take a guess. Who who puts more money into that organization than anybody on the planet?
Maybe BlackRock.
Bill Gates.
I was going to say Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill Gates.
Which is over. He owns Microsoft.
Mhm.
And what's the other one he owns? There's something else he called it. There's Microsoft, and there's there's another one. Anyway, richest people on the planet. One person, not a conglomerate of people.
BGC3, and I think it's TerraPower.
But anyway, think about it. He gets to control the information that comes out of who. But then again, these people are just, I mean, they're just, they're answering to a higher power,
Right.
So I went on, and I thought, okay, so we're seeing who these investment companies are dealing or controlling, or have controlling interest, or either own companies that feed us, that gives us gas to go places, energy. What else do we cover? Oh, technology, where we can call, we can be on the internet tonight. All those are controlled by four companies. And then I thought about, okay, who's controlling the media? So I looked it up. CBS, CNN, Fox, Walt Disney, ABC, NBC, Comcast, Xfinity, you name AT&T, all of them. Guess who owns them?
BlackRock, State Street,
Yeah.
Vanguard, and Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
So
Or again, they either own. I'm trying to clarify that, because you'll say, "Well, Bill Gates owns Microsoft. He don't own." I mean,
But they own him.
You gotta think these are open. These are what do you call them when you can trade them? They're openly traded.
yeah, so they're
they have
publicly
investors.
traded. Yeah.
Publicly traded. So I mean, other people own them. He's got the money because when they bought the shares, the money went to him. But as far as the company and controlling of the company, he don't have control of that.
Whoever owns the most shares runs the company.
Tells the company what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They have the final word. If you don't believe us, just look what Elon Musk just did, to Twitter.
Yeah.
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 So
So one of the last things I want to say, no, not really, but because there's so much information. But I was listening to Laura Logan. Do you know who Laura Logan is?
I've heard the name of it.
She left CNN I think last year, and went to Fox. And Fox is owned by other companies too. It's all owned. I mean, the craziest thing, everything is owned by a few people.
Yep.
So, I heard her say today. Actually, this was posted on I think Vicky West posted it.
She's on here tonight.
Yeah, and I happened to because she'll
Right
know
there
what
she
I'm
is.
saying. And I listened to it, and this is what kind of stirred me. She said that she had a friend that had went into this global elite as like a undercover agent, and said that after spending 2.5 years in this grouping of people, after having to read history manuals, she said, how'd she say it? She said they had to how'd she say it? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Read manuals, had to how they govern themselves, the economic part of it, all these. Anyway, 2.5 years. He realized this, and she said it out loud. She goes, "They're not global elite." She says they're a global cult.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. I
And
agree
these
100%.
People sit and I'm gonna refresh my notes here because I want to get this right. She said they're not taking us into their eliteness. They are taking us into the dark heart of a cult.
Right.
So she said these people in this global elite, I'm repeating after her, they are not taking us into their eliteness. They're taking us into the dark heart of a cult.
Yeah.
And then she said this, she goes, and their most defining objective is to this, and this is really what got my attention, to eliminate and eradicate God. And why? Because if you carry a God complex, then you need people not looking to God. You need people looking to them as a God, kind of like the Egyptians did.
Yep.
This whole pyramid thing.
Yeah.
So wow, you know, and she's saying this, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I meant, so you got what she's calling a cult of a group of people who you don't know their names, who control 100% of the finances of the world, pretty much, can move anything at any moment based on their power, wealth, and position,
Right.
sitting in a place of power over the earth right now. Sounds like me. Sounds like to me it is an antichrist spirit that has consumed these people. To say there is no Christ, there is no deity, there is no God. Where's your God now? I mean, think about it. I mean, I don't think it's quite this easy, but in utopia land for them, I can push a button and bring you to your knees. I can push a button and bring you to your knees. I can cut your power off. I mean, think about this: the power grid. I mean, I went through some training called Crisis Response International a couple of years ago. I mean, actually about 15 years ago.
That's just the other day.
Yeah, and they were given some statistics like if the power grid went down, what would happen? And they were like, after 3 days, I can't remember all of the specifics, this would happen. After 5 days, but the mark was after like 30 days, chaos would hit the streets and people would start killing each other if the power grid went down. Because, I mean, and then all of a sudden, in about 40 something days, I think it was, disease would start hitting the earth because you have no power to control disease with the elderly people that would be dying in these homes. You couldn't bury them fast enough. You couldn't, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden you've got chaos and destruction hitting the earth after about 40 days if the power grid went down. And who controls the power grid? A handful of people. It's mind-boggling, guys.
Yeah,
you
man.
know, here it was. This guy had to go through the trainings of rituals, traditions, ideologies. And this is the important part too. She said this, the children, she goes this, she says, this is what I couldn't understand. Why they think children are very important and they look at children differently, these elite people. And this came out, my goodness. Whew, this is tough to even think about. That I'm not saying, I'm trying to be mindful how, because I want to speak truth. But part of these societies, these groupings of people, actually believe in the sacrifice of human beings.
Absolutely, they do.
But this was the kicker. The key number was males that were 6 years old.
Number 6.
Males that were 6 years old was the prime sacrifice age. A male of 6, and they would drink the blood of the sacrifice. I'm not saying these companies are doing this. I'm just saying when it comes to the wickedness and the cults out there and people that are wanting power, they're wanting longevity, they're wanting to live forever, they're gods in their own eyes. I remember when I forgot the movie years ago, when it was dealing with the gods of the Roman Empire and the Asian Empire, all those, they thought they were gods that would never die. And they were human beings that thought they were a god and they could not be touched.
I'll tell you what, buddy, time's a heck of a thing.
So, and she said this, she goes, they see children are the closest thing on earth to God, knowing that we're created in the image of God. She said this, the more you can either kill a baby or make them suffer, the more powerful they feel.
So let's go back to the, I guess, drinking of, the blood.
Yeah.
All that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like it's happening as we sit here.
I mean, that's been happening for years.
Yeah.
I forget the name they call it, but I mean, they're drinking the blood of other people to what they think get the energy and life of that person.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's literally a elite society in Hollywood that is doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, just, so on, like, the level that, we've
Yeah.
been
I
actually,
mean, I'm not saying they're killing babies to do it, but that you can drink blood by just drawing blood out of people. But there are actual cults that sacrifice people.
Yeah.
That again, I'm not trying to tie that to a corporation, but what I am saying is that the pain and suffering, and I think part of that is that's why the abortion is so big, is because why wouldn't they want to kill off? Why wouldn't people want to kill off generations that could actually at some point stand up to them?
right.
I mean, think about it. I mean, that's what abortion does. It's killing off one generation after the next with because if you give them no life to be educated, to be filled with the Spirit of God, to have a relationship with God, to stand up against the wickedness of the world, if you kill that off, then you're breaking the back of your resistance, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's part of it. This is coming out of Laura's mouth. She's like, their whole outlook is they want to get rid of God, the ideal of God, the image of God, and the way they do that is pain and suffering of children.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
Well,
whew.
there's which I'm not gonna drop any names, but I think I've actually spoke with you about her too. There's a lady that we know who was actually born into this, and they would literally breed her, and then they would take her children, sacrifice them. Like, these kids have no record of birth, and like they would take them and they would sacrifice them and do everything that a cult, or like do everything that a coven would do. And and this went on for a while, and then in between that time she was locked up and caged up like an animal. And this was dude, she's in her 50s now, so this was how long ago. And that's why it says in the word, man, like he knows nothing new. I mean, like, there is nothing new under the sun. Like, it's all just repeating itself, and it's repeating itself, and it's and one of the biggest industries in the world right now is child it's it's abortion, and B, sex trafficking.
Yeah. And really, as far as the abortion part, it's not even the money part. It's the getting rid of the resistance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all right. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a big economical boost for them doing it. I mean, they're gaining wealth from it. I'm saying that, but the real bottom line to it is they're going to eliminate the threat.
But see, it's not so much the the abortion that's the big industry that pays well. It's what they do with the parts, and somebody help me here. I don't know the exact, but I mean, like, they take the parts and the cells,
Stem cells
there, and they literally, they either sell them on the black market, or they actually put them back in to food.
Yeah.
How disgusting is that?
Right.
And
well, part of this whole stem cell, I think you have to be careful with. I mean, they're saying this, that, well, if we can cure cancer with stem cells, we can cure liver disease because we can create you a new liver, heart disease because we can give you new cells that will grow valves. And I mean, off the top of your head, that's awesome. So I could actually, you could take stem cells from me and create body parts that you can freeze or whatever until I need them, which prolongs my life. I mean, where does it end? I mean,
yeah, dude, it's a God complex.
It's a God complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some good scientists that are doing some really amazing things, but I mean, the Bible says we're all point wants to die, then the judgment comes. You know, I mean, there's a time. There's, I mean, God orders our steps. He determines our last breath.
Yeah.
You know, he knows that. So, um, it's an interesting road to go down with people who. I mean, it's just amazing. I was just floored today as I was researching out some of this of just a handful of people. But and Berkshire said it, and I encourage anybody to look it up. That said that within the next 6 years, these four companies, excuse me, the two top, Vanguard and Blackshire, those two will be responsible for $20 trillion with their investment and almost own the entire world in 6 years. And that's public. That's a public post on a well-known organization.
Mm.
I had no
Wow.
idea. I had no idea until today. Interesting. But I
Yep.
want to close on as we maybe close, I want to bring some light to what the scripture says about what we're talking about today. Because we never want to say we talk about stuff without knowing that God's word kind of give us an idea.
Mhm.
Psalm 64. So it says this. He said, hear me, my God, as I voice my complaint. Protect my life from the threat of my enemy. Hide me from the conspiracy of the wicked, from the plots of the evildoers. They sharpen their tongues like swords and aim cruel words like deadly arrows. They shoot from ambush at the innocent. So they are hidden and they're coming after the rest of us.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Like cowards.
And they shoot suddenly without fear. They encourage each other in evil plans. They talk about hiding their snares. They say, who will see it? They're hidden. There's a hidden agenda. I think this whole pandemic was planned. I think it was, and again, I mean, that's all I want to say about that. But it goes on verse 6, he says, they plot injustice, and they say, we have devised a perfect plan. Surely the human mind and heart are cunning. But here we go. But God will shoot them with his arrows, and they will suddenly be struck down. So if we can connect this scripture to where we are in this 21st century, God's showing us some things that no matter what the enemy does, no matter what the plan in 6 years to own the world, a handful of people, God says no. They had the perfect plan. And listen, again, you go back here to Jekyll Island, right here, the Federal Reserve. People, I mean, listen, how that's connected to BlackRock, to the federal government, fourth arm of the government, they call it, because they can control the flow of the money. They created the software for our banking system and can shut it down just like this.
Yep.
Okay. The perfect plan. He says this, but God will shoot them with his with his arrows, and they will suddenly be struck down.
God must be native.
He will turn their own tongue against them and bring them to ruin. All who see them will shake their heads in scorn.
Yeah.
All people will fear. They will proclaim the works of God and ponder what he has done. The righteous will rejoice in the Lord and take refuge in him. All the upright in heart will glorify in him. So there's a remnant of people. I'm not saying we're not going to see some of this stuff happen. We're seeing it. I mean, we're seeing it. But whether it's this pandemic or the next pandemic or the next war or the next 9/11, whatever you want to call it, whatever has been planned by the enemy, God says, I have an arrow for it.
Yeah.
You know, there's some powerful people on there. And listen, what does somebody who has money and power want more of?
Money and power.
Nothing else satisfies them.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Mr. Amazon. Nothing can satisfy him
Jeff Bezos.
except for more money.
Yep.
Bill Gates, more money. Again, these are just puppets because their companies are owned by somebody else.
Mark Zuckerberg.
His company's owned by
Now,
somebody else.
I actually said something earlier about the metaverse, right? And right after I said it, Clay actually posted a comment. I hope it's still on. Yeah. So it's right here. It says, there's a new system of classifying these people that white hat hackers recently uncovered, and they are calling them sovereigns. You can now see how much money they are adding to their sovereign accounts, and guess what they are exempt from? Vaccine mandates. Hold on a second. And then he even said this is the part that really struck me. He says, guess what the sovereigns are all buying? The metaverse. And that's owned by Facebook. Well, it's actually powered by Facebook.
Right.
I mean, it's owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Berkshire Hathaway. But, I thought that was a very interesting comment, because, I mean, you're seeing it come forward, the scripture, like you just read. This is supposed to be one of the most demonic things of our time. And it is so slow, but it is rapidly approaching, and it's being built, but it's being very subtle at the same time. If you look in your Facebook app and scroll all the way down on the, I think, options page, it says, it's got, the F, and then right up under it, guess what it says? Metaverse. So they're slowly actually putting that out there in everybody's eye, and it's subtle. And unless you pay attention, to artwork like that, and just, you're not going to see it. And, but it's very subtle right now. Yes, there is a lot of talk about it, but it's just like that demonic, very subtle, just very, very, very subtle. It was just explained perfectly there. They're hiding in the bushes away. Oh, this is such, the perfect plan,
They're encouraging evil.
Yeah. And,
let's look at Second Thessalonians.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the Antichrist spirit.
Right.
It says, now friends, read these next words carefully. Slow down. Don't go jumping to conclusions regarding days when Jesus Christ will come back and we assemble to welcome him. Don't let anyone shake you up or get you excited over some breathless report or rumored letter from me that the day of the Messiah or Jesus has arrived and has come and gone. Don't fall for anything like that. Then he goes on to say this. Before that day comes, a couple of things will have to happen. Here we go. First, the apostasy will have to happen. You know what that is? Great falling away.
Boom.
So I think this is a telltale sign to the church. But before the Antichrist can start really ruling, things will happen before that. There has to be. And in the pandemic, what percentage of the church left? 60.
Yep.
60% of the church quit being the church, quit coming to church.
Yeah. Staggering number.
Okay.
It's just mind-blowing.
So first, the apostasy. Second, the debut of the Antichrist.
Right.
A partner in crime with Satan. He'll defy and then take over every so-called God or altar. Having cleared away the opposition, he'll then set himself up in God's temple as God. But what's happening? After they have controlled the earth did away with church, people of God, humanity, set themselves up on the earth and say, we're the elite, we're God.
Woe unto
Can
them.
you see this happening in front of our eyes?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so so don't you remember? He said, me going over this in detail when I was with you. He says, are your memories that short? He says, you'll also remember that I told you the Antichrist is being held back until just the right time. That doesn't mean that the spirit of anarchy is not now at work. It is, here we go, secretly and underground. So there's a society, there's a spirit working in people that is hidden, that is underground. We don't know who they are, but their whole entity or their whole ideology is to denounce God, be God, and control people.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It's almost like the writer here knew what he was saying. He goes on to say this. He says, but the time will come when the Antichrist will no longer be held back, but will be loose. But don't worry. Jesus will be right on his heels and blow him away. The master appears and poof, the Antichrist is out of there. He goes on to say this. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie, and all the ways the wickedness deceives those who are perishing. They perish because they refuse to love the truth, so be saved. For this reason, God sends, this is the thing, God does this. So if you're going to buy the lie, okay, think about this. If you're going to buy the big lie,
Right.
and I think the pandemic was the big lie, one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
that's what Trump calls it, is the big
I'm
lie.
not saying it wasn't a real thing.
Right. Sure.
But the way they portrayed it in the vaccine mandates, that I mean, our president says, he got angry one day. You're going to get this. You just need to grow up and get this. They're forcing it. I think they're on their fifth shot.
Yeah.
Just keep jabbing people. But he says this, if you keep believing the lie, for this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so they will believe the lie. He'll let you believe it. God sends a delusion that they will believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in wickedness.
Right, man, because fear is the gateway spirit to the rest of hell. And if that door to fear can be opened up, and if that fear is accepted and received, it's literally, dude, like a direct little hard line. It's the gateway to hell itself. And which is, dude, I think there's an acronym for fear, and it means false evidence appearing real. And if they can actually portray that smoke screen, look at the people, dude, that are still lining up to get stuck with that thing.
Unbelievable.
Because, dude, I bet you if you trace the vaccines back, I bet you it's linked directly to this stupid monkeypox thing. Because they actually used the first one to now do, the vaccines, and now they'll use that to actually do another pandemic. And I bet you it's linked directly to, the monkeypox.
When this first broke out, I said this, there'll always be a pandemic because it's the way they can control people.
Yep.
If they could get half of the world's population from Fauci that directly said the best way to fight the flu, anything else that comes against your body, is to get the disease, and your own immunity will take over, and you'll get the antibodies for it. The guy who said that is now telling the world, your antibodies don't work. Get the shot. Not just get the shot or the jab. Get 3, 4, 5 of them.
Hey, buddy. 4, 5, 6, just, collect the whole set.
At some point, I don't know if I'm not saying I'm prophesying this, but I'm thinking at some point they'll start calling, there's a disease on the earth that's just start killing people. and they don't know what
Right.
it is. Just, I think people, if you're not careful, people just, I mean, we're always already seeing it. I mean, people die. I mean, don't get me wrong, people do die, but people's just, I mean, you're seeing it even now, like elite athletes dropping dead, just dropping dead for no reason.
Yeah.
I got a thing went across my Apple feed. I forgot what show she is on. 37 years old, dropped dead.
Yeah.
Good health. 37 years old, dropped dead.
So did you see that there was, I want to say 4 Canadian doctors after they, because now they're, I think it was from a new line of vaccines, and it was the 4th vaccine that every one of these doctors did. Once they gave the 4th one, boom. So it's like they gave the shot and were like exposed to it, and then there's been 4 of them, that's dropped dead.
I mean, I had 2 personal friends. I'm not here talking about the shots, though, but I had 2 personal friends in ministry. Both died from the vaccine. Again, I know people react differently, but one of them didn't make it 15 minutes. Didn't make it out of the doctor's clinic. Dead. Fell dead in the lobby. 15 minutes after he got the shot. So, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm like, because I got a lot of people, I got friends that got it. I'm like, it's your choice. But I'm like, I mean, it's the whole idea of how do we, I think it was kind of a test run. How do we control the world population?
Fear. It's the gateway to hell, man.
Yeah. But I'm going to be encouraging too, because, if you read the book of Daniel, it's all about end time prophecy. He says in Daniel 12:10, he says, many will be during this time, though, because when I'm reading out of Daniel 12, he's talking about the spirit of Antichrist and the end times. He says, many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. None of the wicked will understand, but those who are wise will understand. And that was from my sermon 2 weeks ago. And I said this, I don't believe you can fully embrace the power of a thing until you understand it.
Yep.
So you can't embrace what we're even saying tonight until you understand that this stuff is real. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. No. I mean, these are known things that are going on. They're just not being talked about. It's not going to make the headline news for sure.
So in all of the years that I have used this like computer software to go live with, I've never had the Wi-Fi icon actually pop up on the screen right there. And it says your connection is unstable. Never since I've used this has it ever said that. It says if you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging it into your router or actually getting closer to the router. Mind you, we've been sitting here for 6 months now, in the same spot, and we've never had an issue until the night we'd see. Look online. Look how blurry it is now.
Yeah,
and it's getting all like, but it's the night we talk about this. I mean, they're slowing us down. They're probably putting us, the bottom of the algorithms.
Yeah,
or they're probably just going to outright remove us. I think YouTube just did. I think we've been actually pulled off of YouTube. Is there anybody watching YouTube? Because I see everybody actually commenting from Facebook now, but if you go up earlier, we had a lot of people that was commenting, from YouTube. They may have just gotten off, but are we still on YouTube? Can you guys let us know that? It says we've got, we got 5 people in the Remnant Church YouTube page. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I'll read one more verse, Daniel 12:3, because this is encouraging. Again, remember, he's talking about the end times. He said, those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many, and those who shine will lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever. So there is, there's always hope. But I think, I just believe there's an arrow that God's going to shoot. And I believe a lot of these evil people that are wanting to control people, control agendas, wanting to control the economics of our world, that there's an arrow that the heaven can shoot that will bring them down.
Yep.
You know, when you and the whole message tonight was based on the God complex. People thinking they're God. And I could see, I could see how easy it could happen if you're a part of an elite 3,000 plus people that own the planet within 6 years. Who are you going to fear?
Yeah.
I mean, who are you going to? I know we have our issues in our government. I know we got good people that are trying to make a difference. I know there's corrupt people that's been up there for years. But whoever you think is at the top of the food chain, there's one higher.
Mm-hmm.
And there's somebody pulling the strings. There's somebody that's the puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as we've read this at the end out of the Psalms and out of Daniel's, that he's, I think, really calling the church to a place where we have to stand.
Oh, yeah.
That when this great psalmist, there's a great falling away, there's an apostasy that has begun. I don't think we've finished with that. I think there's going to be more that will leave the faith. But there will be a remnant, my friend.
Yes.
That will stand in the face of adversity, in the face of maybe persecution, in the face of rejection, whatever you want to say, in the face of denial. I'm not saying we know it all, but I'm just saying that the word has prophesied and spoken this, that these days would come. The Antichrist would come. The spirit of Antichrist would come. And that whole spirit of Antichrist is to erase his name, erase his authority, denounce God, and take the credit for himself. It's scriptural.
Yep.
And we're just, I'm not saying there won't be one person on the globe that will be the Antichrist that shows up. That's pretty scriptural there, but that spirit, when there's that's so evident in the earth right now,
mm-hmm.
Man, they want to control. They want to reign. So,
well,
any questions,
guys? Have we got any questions? Because I think we're going to wrap it up right there. We're going to take questions for about 2 minutes. But while I guess we're waiting on that to get through, what time is church here on Sunday, Jamie?
10:30.
And on Wednesday nights?
7.
And we have a plethora of small groups and tons of other ministries. If you go to our site on speaklifelovewell.com, or if you go and actually get the app again, we're going to post the app link on the Remnant Facebook page. Can you go ahead and throw that up on the page? And just post the app link on the church page. If you go to the remnantmovement.com or speaklifelovewell.com, and you click on ministries, you'll see everything that the church offers. So there's a lot of cool things. Is there any question? Okay. Pam Clark says, do you think the Scientology is the elite?
No.
I believe
they're just part of the downline.
Yeah.
Do I think they're a cult? Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's go, Tom Cruise. No, guys. So if that's all the questions, I am actually going to leave you guys with a song. It's one that Clay shared with me, and I think it's really good for this. It's called Fear Go. And so I am going to leave the live stream up through, the duration of this song. But guys, if you have any questions about the church, if you have any any questions at all for me or Pastor Jamie, feel free to shoot us a text message through Facebook Messenger, or you can put, your questions here, as well, and like, the comments. But if that's it, I'm gonna go ahead and play this song. I gotta make sure that it's running through the speakers right. So, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday night between 7 and 7:30, just really depending on how, the day goes. It depends on if he needs to get a haircut or not. So, but we will see you guys next Thursday night here on the War Zone, 7 o'clock. Enjoy the song. Oh, I did say Thursday. Next Tuesday night at 7, we'll be right back here on the War Zone, and we might even continue this next week. I don't know yet, because
Interesting, isn't it?
yeah, it's very interesting. But guys, until next week, enjoy this song on the way out. It's not playing. Is it playing now? There it goes. All right, guys.
Coming out with our praise. Oh,
We'll see you guys next week.
so fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like the fire. Come and inhabit our praises. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like the fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come. Come on, I feel like somebody needs to say fear off. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire. Hey, fear God, Holy Spirit come. Come on, somebody needs to move. Get it off here, come on. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, burn like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Fear God, Holy Spirit come, burn like a fire, blow like the wind. Blow like the wind. Blow like the wind. Blow like the wind. One more time, come on. Fear God. Fear God. Holy Spirit come. Burn like a fire. Blow like the wind. Fear God. Holy Spirit come. Burn like a fire. Blow like the wind. Fear God. Holy Spirit come. Burn like a fire. Blow like the wind. Fear God. Holy Spirit come. Burn like a fire. Blow like the wind. Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
No rags, no different color flags. Yeah, welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
No guns, no knives, and the weapons formed against me in the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
Are ever gonna prosper? I'ma serve the Father. Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the war zone.
Welcome to the